Here we'll create a conda environment with Python 3.8 called doc engine. After creating, we'll activate the environment. Here we are going to create a main.py, which will be our fast API, where we'll define our fast API endpoints. Post this, we are going to install fast API and UVCon. After this libraries are successfully installed, we need to create a very basic file for our main.py, and once that is prepared, we'll just serve this using UVCon. As you can see that it has started 8000 and port 8000 fast API server. You can go to docs endpoint to check the Swagger UI documentation. After this, we'll create a file called description.py. In this file, we'll have all the API level documentation as a string variable. Also, at the same time, we'll have all the tag related description over here. So once this is done, we'll save the variable description variable in description file and we'll import it in main file. Here, as you can see, that fast API class can be instantiated with title, version and other API related details. Once that is done, what we'll do is we'll create a new endpoint. We need to run the server again, and we can go to docs endpoint and see the changes. As you can see, the API level documentation is present in Swagger UI. Cool. Post this in description.py. What we'll add is we'll add tags. You can think tags are like a logical grouping of endpoints. So here we have, like, let's say 2 tags. One is user and another is item. So we'll add stack metadata variable in description.py and we'll import the same in main.py. After importing, we need to pass it to fast API class, and we'll use open API tags argument and we'll pass the variable which contains the tag related metadata in descriptions.py. Once we have initialized fast API class with this argument, what we need to do is we need to tag our endpoint. As you can see, the user's endpoint has been tagged with user, and same for items. Let's check the changes in docs URL. So here, if we expand users or item, we'll be able to see the metadata which we have passed. So as you can see, with user tag, it is showing what is the logic and what is the information regarding it. So this is documenting at a tags level. Now, one more type of documentation we may have in our project is like documenting your class or any database model, which will later be example in your Swagger UI documentation. So let's say if we uh, create a class called item, and then if we import all the fields and like give a default value and a description to this, the same thing will be passed in Swagger UI, and we can fire a request using an example. There are other ways to do it, but this is one of the convenient ways which we can use in order to generate this example payload in Swagger UI. So as you can see that it has an example value, and if we go to the schema, we'll be able to see any other details. So name is a string and the title is the same. Otherwise we can just use a title or example in order to populate all those things as well. So this is like documenting at a database model level. Now one more thing we can do in case of get endpoint, we can or any other endpoint in general, we can have a description argument to the method where we define what is the description of the method, and then we can use the tag in order to tag it to any of the existing tags. And other than that, let's say if we have a query parameter, we can also add a default value, title and description. The same will be shown in Swagger UI. So as you can see here, we have documented the Q query string, and if we expand new items, we'll be able to see that what Q parameter is and what should be the minimum length, so on and so forth. And also we can see that there is a description section of the endpoint. Coming to the project level documentation, here we are going to use MKDocs. So in order to use that, we'll create a MKDocs.yaml file, we'll create a requirements.txt, and also we'll also have to create a docs folder with that index.md. So this is the bare minimum structure we need in order to start a MKDocs project. So we'll create that. Once this is created in index.md, we'll put a blank text or any other kind of text just to show it in the UI. Once this is done, we'll have to configure our MKDocs.yaml. We'll need minimum two requirements. One is site name and another is nav. So in site name, we'll put wiki, and we'll parse the index.md file as HTML content and we'll serve it. So in order to do that, what we need to do is we'll have to install MKDocs to the existing environment. Once this is done, we'll have to add the same to the requirements.txt file. Now post this, we can build MKDocs and then we can serve it. During build, it will create HTML file from markdown files, and when we serve it, it will start a small web server and host those pages in our local. In order to view the changes, we can keep this server running, and at the same time we can make changes and like visualize the changes on the fly before we push any code to the remote. So here we are creating a sample repository where we'll push this code. We'll initialize this folder, we'll add all the content, and then we'll push the content to develop branch. Cool. So now, since this code is present in our GitHub remote repository, what we'll do is we'll build and we'll serve this. But before that, we'll add sites to gitignore, so that whenever we generate all the HTML file, it does not commit to our Git repo, and we'll commit only the source file, and then CI/CD pipeline can generate the required static file using GitHub action and push it to GitHub pages, which will host this static HTML content. When we run MKDocs build, as you can see, there is a site folder which has been created. Now we are rendering the content of site folder. Of course, this does not look very attractive or well organized, so in order to make it better, we'll use MKDocs material, which is a Python package we'll have to install in our existing environment, and also at the same time we'll have to register in requirements.txt. Once this is done, we'll have to add the theme in our MKDocs.yaml. So here we are specifying that we'll be using material theme. Again, we'll have to build and serve the content in order to reflect the changes. So as you can see that the theme has changed to MKDocs material. Now if we want, we can also deploy it directly to the GitHub pages, but we'll use CI/CD pipeline to do that. Before that, we'll have to install a couple of extensions, for example YML in Visual Studio Code, and also at the same time we need to install MKDocstring. Once these two are installed, we need to make some changes in our settings.json file. So the following file has to be appended to the settings.json file. So I'll open settings.json and will add this setting for MKDocs. Also at the same time, we'll have to add some settings for MKDocstring. So what this is saying is that, like, give me a default structure in Google Docstring format. Once all of it is configured, we need to install MKDocstring. Also here we'll create a projects folder. This will be your source code directory, and within that we'll have to create a init.py, and also at the same time I'll create a hello world.py. Here we need to define a function. Let's call, say, hello world, and then also we'll have to add static typing to it. This function will return nothing but, it will take name as argument, and then in return it will return a string called hello and whatever name we have passed into this function. Now if we type 3 inverted commas, this MKDocstring will give a structure to this function which we can populate in order to generate our docstring. So we'll add a title to this, and then we'll add a short description about our argument and the return. Also, as you can see, it has provided us as argument and return type as str, because we have defined that as typing. Cool. Once this is done, we'll have to add this and push this code changes to our remote. Now we need to add this block to our page. Any of the pages we can add, but here since we have just one page, we'll add this to index.md, and also we'll have to give the path of the file or function which we want to serve in this page. So here we are defining project, which is our folder, hello world.py, which is our file, and say hello world is our function name, which will be rendered in index page. We'll build this document and then we'll serve it. this page is not showing the docstring in a proper way because in MKDocs.yaml file we have not imported the required settings, so we'll have to import plugins search and MKDocs in MKDocs.yaml, and then only it will be visible. So we'll do that. Now this should come properly. We'll have to build and serve again. So as you can see that this has changed. Now it has like all the argument and written in a proper tabular format. Also we can look into the source if we expand this option. We'll push these changes to remote. Post that we'll have to create a CI/CD pipeline so that these changes can be built using GitHub action and it can be deployed to GitHub pages. So as a first step, what we need to do is we need to create a .github folder and a workflows folder within that, and inside workflows we can copy paste the content to create a ci.yaml file. So this says that if there is a new code in develop branch, generate all the static HTML content and then push it to GitHub pages. So we'll need one environment variable called personal token in order to make it work. So we'll generate a personal access token and then we'll put it to GitHub secret with the variable name personal token. To do that, we'll go to developer setting, personal access token, and then if you have a existing personal token you can regenerate the same, or you can create a new token and copy the value and paste it to the respective GitHub secret, which is personal token in this case. So here you need to copy the value and paste it somewhere because this screen is visible just for one time. Now if we go to our repository and GitHub secret, we need to create a new repository secret which will be personal token. We need to paste the same value of personal access token we have received earlier. We need to save this and we need to push this CI pipeline to the remote. Now if we go to the actions tab, we'll be able to see that this deployment is happening, and if everything goes well we should be having a project wiki along with docstring hosted in GitHub pages in a couple of seconds. As you can see that this deployment is happening. This deployment is over, so if we click and go to the deployments section. Okay, now I think we can go to the landing page, and the deployment environment should be available. Yeah, if you can go to the GitHub pages and see the status, it is pending. Once this is deployed, we should be getting a URL. Yeah, this is there. If we see view deployment, we are able to see the same content here. So yeah, this is the end-to-end process.